Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles market update. Today is the 9th of October, 2024, and I am Gianni DePocia, your host. It's a pretty important day, both from an economic data standpoint and from a geocosmic standpoint. On the first note, we have the FOMC minutes by the Federal Reserve set to be released today. So that's going to give us some more insight on the Fed's plans for further rate cuts. And then today we just had Jupiter go retrograde in Gemini. So that's going to be setting us up for the next and second square between Jupiter and Saturn that's going to take place on the 24th of December. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we can look at what's happening in markets right now. It's a pretty bullish tape right now. You have the S&P 500 futures making a new all-time high. The Dow Jones is catching a strong bid as well. As I'll show you in a moment, still need to see the NASDAQ join the all-time high party, but we started off this week on a pretty harmonious note from a geocosmic standpoint. We had Venus trine Mars. Yesterday, as I mentioned, Jupiter now retrograde in Gemini. Over the weekend, we're going to have Sun trine Jupiter, Sun obviously in Libra, Jupiter in Gemini. And then the following day, on the 14th of October, you're going to have Sun square Mars, and then Venus opposite Uranus. Venus opposite Uranus really has my attention here because that's a classical breakout signature. You can see markets break support or resistance, and with Uranus involved, you have to focus on the tech sector. With Venus involved, you have to pay attention to the currency sector. I did forget to mention also that Pluto will be going direct on this Friday, the 11th of October, and will commence its final direct motion through the sign of Capricorn before the Lord of the Underworld enters into the sign of Aquarius in November. I believe it's the 19th of November. So take a look at the NASDAQ here, NASDAQ 100, seeing a nice bid. Haven't quite taken out that high from the 26th of September and the cash index here, but this is looking strong. You are seeing technology and semiconductors outperform, and this is exactly what I want to see going into Venus opposite Uranus on Monday. Not to mention that technology has reclaimed the top performing position in terms of the sectors in the S&P 500 year to date. And like I said, going into an aspect like Venus opposite Uranus on Monday does leave the door open for a potential breakout higher. So I like what I'm seeing there. Take a look at bonds here. Had to kind of reassess the primary cycle breakdown. Going to update readers on that in the monthly cycles report that is going to be released next week on Monday. That is MMA's flagship report where we update our outlook on stocks, bonds, currencies, commodities, and more. But when it comes to bond markets here, we are in the time band for an intermediate term cycle low, and I think that is leading to a distortion in the primary cycle. So something to keep an eye on now. While we do have the FOMC minutes set to be released today, there also is going to be important inflation data released tomorrow, the CPI report for the month of September. And then on Friday, you also have the PPI report, which is the producer price index, often seen as a leading indicator for consumer prices. So yeah, with Pluto going direct this Friday, be on the lookout for potential reversal in debt markets. Pluto rules debt. But on the front of economic data, we did have this pretty impressive pop in the energy market, but we are coming back down. Granted, Jupiter is changing directions. Jupiter is the co-ruler of energy along with Neptune, but I'm not looking for a big beat in the inflation data or a reading really above estimates. As long as energy prices remain contained, then I find it hard to believe that inflation data is going to come in stronger than expected. And, Puyan Zulfagarnia did an excellent presentation at the MMA investment retreat on the long-term cycle situation on crude oil. And I will say it's not something that you want to ignore because we're in a very important time band. Take a look at gold and silver. You're seeing prices come down here in both gold and silver. We are in the time band for lows of significance in both of these. And the geocosmic setup, we know that Jupiter typically does not portend positive omens for precious metals. We are changing directions now. We have some more Jupiter aspects over the weekend with Sun trine Jupiter. So keep an eye out here for a washout lower, but it could lead to some further opportunities line. Let's take a look at the US dollar against the Japanese yen, pressing up against this important resistance zone. If we do take out this high from the 15th of August in USDJPY, I think it would be a pretty strong signal that a long-term low of significance is complete, as we discussed at the MMA investment retreat. So keep an eye on this, especially, again, with Venus going into opposition with Uranus. You're pressing up against resistance. This is an important currency market. Classic breakout signature. Could be a false breakout, but I think the cycle situation is pointing towards higher prices. The euro also taking it on the chin here as the dollar makes a remarkable comeback. Capital seems to want a piece of the economic action in the United States as the Fed embarks on its rate cut journey here. The next FOMC rate decision will take place on the 7th of November, just under a month from now. And it's actually going to be on a Thursday. You usually see them on Wednesdays, but it's going to be 2 days after the election, the presidential election in the United States. And so keep an eye on the dollar here, because a lot of times there is a correlation between the dollar and the outcome of the presidential election. That's just based on history, no real, concrete, I suppose, thinking behind that, because you can make an argument that there's been shifts in policy over the years between the parties. Last and certainly not least, I do want to take a look at cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, Venus opposite Uranus. It's always a signature that gets me excited for cryptocurrencies. Really just any hard aspect between Venus and Uranus. Kind of congesting here over the last couple of sessions, but I do like this on the 27th of September compared to this high of the 25th of August, and this higher low, more importantly, the second higher low following that low of August 5th. So I think that we are also shaping up here for some really good price action in the not so distant future. Ethereum was up earlier today, seeing a little bit of selling now, still has some technical issues that it needs to overcome, but I do think that some lows of significant have been completed in the cryptocurrency market. So something to keep an eye on, especially with the Fed continuing its easing. We have seen strong historical correlations between cryptocurrencies and liquidity conditions. That is, when liquidity improves, usually a good sign for cryptocurrencies. So we'll see if that plays out again this time. But that's everything that I wanted to cover with you today. Thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned, we will have the monthly MMA cycles report released on Monday of next week, where you can get all of our updated forecasts on various markets, and working on the schedule now to get a couple new exciting guests for you to join us here every Wednesday at the Merriman Market Analyst Cycles YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the channel and like the video. We have weekly updates and more that are for you, and hope to see you in our future projects. And we'll see you same time, same place next week. Take care.